Good evening, everyone. I hope all of you are doing great and keeping yourself healthy and safe. I am Raj Nandini Vyas, a digital marketer by profession and a Pride alumni of our very own institute. Today, I am back with yet another powerful session from a very dynamic leader from the industry. He has around 18 years of experience in business development in large MNCs like Dow Chemicals, DuPont. He also holds 9 years of experience in scaling up businesses units in South Asian markets in sectors ranging from food processing, biotech, and life sciences. He has experience with New Zealand government's international business development agency called New Zealand Trade and Enterprise. He is passionate about growing businesses and bigger and faster and leads NZTE's commercial initiative in Sri Lanka over the last 5 years. Apart from this, he is an adventurous person, loves hiking, camping, and off road sports. I take this immense pleasure and pride to introduce and welcome our bright alumni from a pioneer batch, Mr. Irfan. Irfan, sir, the floor is all yours. Please go ahead.
Uh, Thank you so much, Nandini. Just a quick feedback. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So good evening, students, fellow students. First things first, I know you all have had a long day. You've sat through patient sessions one after another, not just today, but I guess for last couple of months and even entire week. So that takes for a lot of perseverance and patience on your part. So well done, congratulations. And I understand that today the session is actually the fag end of the day, so I won't sort of hold you between your weekend plans. And Thanks so much for the introduction, Nandini. Very nice to connect with you and the fellow
Same
students
here,
today.
sir.
And I just wanted to mention this to everyone. So today, think of me as one of y'all. Think of me as a student sitting amongst y'all. Please, let's not have any boundaries or barriers of ex-students or dealing with somebody from the industry. All those things come with a bit of barrier and hierarchy and all of that. So I think it's my humble request to just treat me as one of y'all, and I think that will really, really facilitate a very good interaction. And I believe there would be opportunities for me and us to interact at future forums and opportunities as well. But I think this was long due, and I must thank Colonel Marwa and Dr. Jay and the esteemed management team for giving me this opportunity. It's been long on my uh, list to be visit the campus and meet you all in person, but it was supposed to happen this way, and I'm glad that I've got a chance to connect with you. I'm based in Mumbai, and I do sort of travel to Pune now and then, and I would definitely take it upon me to stop by and say hello to all of you all in person. Uh, so I basically have no specific format today to talk to you, but yeah, I did think about it, and I've just sort of penciled in some of my ideas that or some of my thoughts that you might find relevant. And I think what I've done is I've gone through the induction process brochure, and you've already had very good distinguished speakers, from the industry, subject matter experts, industry leaders, entrepreneurs, who have touched upon everything right from branding, marketing, soft skills. So I guess I'm conscious of not repeating all of that. You already quite I think illuminated in that sense and enriched with all the sessions that you've already attended. But I'm trying to actually wear a student's hat today, and I'm trying to put myself back to uh, 1999, 2000, when we were at the sort of the cusp of graduation, and lot of question marks. We were at crossroads. We didn't have a lot of clarity. So I guess I'm going to take this opportunity to take you through the journey, and it's not necessarily my journey, but it's your journey. It's any student's journey, which is clueless, which is full of optimism. Sometimes we don't know the direction, and I think it's quite all right, to be in that position. Um,
Correct.
So yes, so that's in a snapshot what the session is going to be. Do you have anything to ask me before that, Nandini?
Not anything as of now. Should we just go ahead with the slides, if you say?
Yes, let's go ahead with it, please.
So what I'll do is like I'll just minimize my camera and mic so that it will be easy for you.
Sure.
And okay, so
Yeah.
here we go.
Okay. What I'm planning to do before that is maybe I'll just take a minute and do a very quick or a very easy poll, if you don't mind.
Sure,
So I'll just type in the questions and then we'll be ready to go.
sure.
Almost done. Very simple question. Just attempt
I
whatever you
guess
can.
the question. Sure, I guess the questions are not visible as of now uh,
Okay.
on the screen. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to just say what the question is?
Yes, please.
Okay. So
That
it's
will
a very
be
simple question. Do you know what your plans are, or do you know where you're going to be 5 years from now? Great.
I
That's
can't say that.
well. I can see the poll here, so I can help you out there, Nandini. No problem.
Okay.
Right. So we maybe just give it a few more seconds. The response is already coming in. The responses are still coming in, so I'm going to give it some more time. So another 10 seconds, and then I'll just end the poll, and then we'll get going. Right. So it's amazing. 55% of y'all have we clearly have total clarity in terms of what the next 5 years are going to look like. 33% no, and 11% clueless. So I think it's amazing, such a big difference. And I believe for us during my times, I think probably all of us would have checked the clueless box. And I just want to assure you that it's absolutely fine to be clueless, because it's fine not to know where the future is, and it's good. It's fine to be anxious. Uh, So as somebody who's been through the institute, and I probably won't. I'll try and keep this interesting. I know you've already spoken to a lot of ex-students about the institute. I think what's special about our batch is we were the pioneering batch. So we were the first ones who took admission to the institute. It was just at a very formative state. Everything was brand new. So I think it was a bit of leap of faith for everyone, for the students, for the management. It was absolutely a brand new story. Uh, some of us were from Pune and some of us from out of station. So we did have a lot of great friends and great fellow students coming in from all over India. So that way it was a very interesting journey. I would like to I would like to share some anecdotes from the first sort of pioneering batch, and I'll try and keep it specific to me. I think I feel quite lucky to be part of the pioneering batch because I think Colonel Marwa's leadership and foresight was amazing. I think he did anticipate the future trends in terms of e-business, and I think those were the times where as an industry, people were even struggling to grasp the concept of what e-business is or e-commerce is, right? And today is the buzzword. So I think in that sense, he was quite ahead of its time, and he had the foresight and the courage to, put the institute together, formulate the program, get the team in. And we were the first ones. In fact, I still remember the campus was a very small, humble beginnings, and I think for a lot of us, we were also quite anxious that how is it all going to roll out, and then we shifted to the new campus. So that was again a very interesting memory. I think one of the few things that the institute has instilled in me is you see the time symbol over there. That's actually punctuality, and I remember all of us had to get into the classroom well before time or well within time. None of us could be late, and I think all of us as a team we had agreed that there would be certain sort of penalties that would be applicable if anybody is showing up late. And I think that was such a brilliant life lesson learned out of that. Even today, I think I make sure that most of our meetings, wherever I have professional and personal commitments, I make sure that I'm always punctual. The second one, you might wonder what is a piece of sock doing there, right? And I think again these are some of the little things that have come out of the institute, where there was I think there was attention to fine details in terms of how you dress up, your attire. And I learned this from again Colonel Marwa, where my choice of socks that I would wear is always black, and even today, right now, I'm wearing it. And from that day till now, I haven't deviated from that. All my professional, official travel meetings, office, I'm committed to that, and it's just a brilliant life lesson learned in terms of dressing up for the moment and the confidence it instills in you. The third bit of the story is the mobile phones or tabs or laptops are not as popular that time. They were still sort of uh, not too easy to get tools. And I remember some of us had to prepare for PowerPoint presentations and teamwork. So I do remember carrying those huge desktops from somebody's house to another house and another person's house, and then sometimes taking it to the campus because we would had stored our work at home, and then we wanted to bring it to the institute and showcase some of our presentations. So I think that was a kind of hard work we had put in. I mean, now you can probably put everything on the cloud and not worry about even any devices. But I think that's the sort of commitment that the management had, the teachers had, the professors had, and also the students. I think we laid a lot of emphasis in terms of the business attire, and even as students, I think we made sure, and the entire management made sure that we were sort of dressed up for the corporate. I also do remember that Colonel Marwa had given us a lot of free hand in terms of being part of the pioneering batch for us to have a say in terms of how we want to run the institute. And I still remember that I had written a letter to a lot of my outstation students. A lot of them were, young greenhorns like yours, coming into a new city, anxious, leaving your parents. So I think the letter was quite nice, and I can try and find out a copy. It must be there somewhere. And it was a two-page letter, just helping out students in terms of what to do as part of college life, beyond college, where to stay, where to eat out, places to see in Pune. So that is quite nice. And I think, excuse me. Finally, I think I must acknowledge, and in reflection, the kind of freedom the institute gave us in terms of probably also designing some of the programs, some of the lecture series, some of the industry interactions that we wanted was phenomenal. So I personally don't think I would have gotten that kind of exposure or that kind of freedom at any other institute. So Seema, these are some of my quick stories from the pioneering batch. There are a lot of stories actually, and I'll probably keep some of them to share when we meet in person. But these are some of the stories that have definitely helped shape me and some of the colleagues from the first batch. Uh, Stepping into your shoes, fellow students. Uh,
It's
yes, yes, Nandini, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt you, but you can please let me know if you want me to change the slide. I'll do it for you.
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks. Do we have any questions as of now, or should I just continue as is, Nandini?
No, you can continue.
Perfect. Okay. Another specialty, and I would request, or I would encourage, or I would urge all of you fellow students to think of this. This was a very powerful learning for me. Being part of the pioneering batch, look at it from the industry perspective, right? The institute's name was not known. I think we were trying to make a mark for ourselves. The corporate world can be quite ruthless, and in all fairness, Colonel Marva had excellent reputation and he had great industry following and network, and he would definitely leverage all that for us. But I think collectively, as a brand, we were still sort of unknown and we were coming up. It's very natural, for us students to take a transactional position with the institute, and we and what I mean by a transactional relationship is a very supplier buyer relationship, right? Where you pay for something and then you want services in return, right? That's a very transactional relationship. And I think I would encourage you to maybe shift your focus to something of a collaborative relationship with anything that is important to you. So today it's the institute. Tomorrow it could be your workplaces. It could be anything. It could be your personal in your personal space. It could be the corporate, private sector, or your own businesses that you're going to be setting up in the future. The collaborative type of relationship that you foster is going to be extremely beneficial, mutually beneficial. And I'll give you an example. So I think in a transactional relationship as a student, it's sort of very easy to be part of any program, and then one school of thought would say that you've sort of paid the fees, you've made the effort, and then you want something in return, right? I think this we learned as part of a batch where our process was very collaborative. What we did as students is we knew that there are going to be a lot of challenges. There were a lot of other B schools that we were competing with, a lot of other B schools that were there in existence for a long time, and naturally they had a first mover advantage or whatever, and then we knew that we had to be different, right? So I think what we did is to form a collaborative relationship. What we did were we were working hand in hand with the management, with our professors. We were actually actively looking for internships that we could look for. We were trying to get industry contacts that each one of us also had in our own sort of personal spheres back into the institute. So what I'm trying to say is that collectively, if we were to bring in our networks, bring in our strengths, bring in our positives to this collaborative culture, it's going to be amazing. So for example, for a student, if you do have your dream on organization in your mind, if you have your top 2 or 3 organizations that you want to work for, there's nothing that stops you from reaching out to this organization and profiling yourself. And I'm sure the institute is going to put all their might and all the resources behind you to make those collaborations work. So I've given you a perspective, a transactional relationship and a collaborative relationship. I would definitely urge you to look at the right side, which is going to be extremely beneficial. It did prove beneficial for us. I remember the internship that a colleague of mine and I got with Dow Chemicals. It was a very large US multinational. It came in a similar fashion. We worked hand in hand with the management to identify some of the opportunities, and then we collectively jointly pursued it, and we won that internship. And I think it was quite a proud moment because one, we were quite confident in ourselves that we can do much more together, and not just sort of sit back and keep waiting for the opportunities to come to your desk or to your campus. So that's one learning. Can we have the next one, Nandini? Thank you. So I'm going to take a pause here again. Any questions so far? Any questions? Any comments? I'm happy to take
Yeah.
a pause
So,
and answer. Yeah.
since you know that the current scenario is really worrisome for a lot of us, and being from a fresh batch and everything, most of our students want to know about the upcoming scope in post-pandemic period. You know, so
Sure.
they really would like to know how things will be after this or in the current situation. So, great if we can throw some light on that.
Absolutely. And I believe other speakers have already touched upon this, Nandini. But I think the
Yes.
only thing that comes to my mind is with adversity comes great opportunity. And I mean, no better example than some of us in the pioneering batch where, like I mentioned, the institute had the foresight of, you know, picking up a very niche trend that time was e-business, right? And it was quite a struggle. So when we spoke to industries, they were like, "What's e-business? You know, what are you guys talking about? You guys don't know business. What are you talking about e-business?" You know, that's the sort of feedback that we got that time. So cut from 2000 to 2020, I think the world's changed quite a bit. And look at the pandemic today. I think it has actually leapfrogged India into a digital world. Uh, the fact that we are having this discussion not in the campus, where you don't have to physically be in the campus, and I don't have to leave my house, is itself proof of things to come. And it's
Right.
happening in the personal space. So imagine the kind of power digital has in the space of business and corporate and private sector. So I would only say that hang in there. Being anxious is quite normal. The pandemic is not here to stay. It's not going to be forever. You will have to go through these times, be resilient. But as the dust settles, I think the opportunities are just going to be there, ripe for picking for each one of you. And considering that you've picked up the institute and you're in the right place at the right time. So I personally am very excited for each one of you, and I think the future is extremely positive and extremely it's going to be awesome for each one of you.
Correct. I second that. I guess people are convinced here. We can move ahead with the.
Great. Okay. Thanks again. So again, like I mentioned, Nandini, that I'm trying to sort of be a student here, and I'm just trying to fast forward some of the professional learnings for you. Um, and so this is just a quick notes that I did today morning, just to think and reflect, and just thinking what might be of benefit to you. So I don't want to preach. Everybody is quite experienced. You guys have access to a lot of resources. You've got excellent management and teachers and professors, and you spend a lot of time updating yourself. So you're already quite aware and illuminated. I think these are more life learnings. So I think take it in that spirit. So like freshers, my experience is that it's you're raw. It's a sort of a nice age to get into the corporate or the private sector. And I would encourage you to be extremely flexible. Not everything is going to go your way. Some of y'all might be specializing in certain fields, right? But the industry is quite evolving. So in case you do get internships or your first assignments that don't exactly play into your area of specialization, don't get disheartened. I think treat that first opportunity as a toehold into the private sector, because you can work your way into it eventually. The second is, you might not have experience, right? But you can always have confidence. So have confidence in yourself, and step into the world with a lot of grace and lot of poise and a lot of confidence. Uh, be punctual. I look for a lot of that in young students, freshers. These things really matter a lot. People do notice in terms of these basics these are never going to be compromised even in the digital world. So even if you don't have to show up anywhere in person, make sure that you absolutely respect time. Um, I think the biggest trait to me for any professional is be curious, ask if you don't understand, don't hesitate to ask questions, listen as much as you can. I think listening skills is something that is quite difficult to master. We can all talk. I know right now it's very easy for me to talk, right? But I think if you have to really listen and process and inculcate some of those learnings, I think that does make it tough. But by all means, develop that, and that will really put you into good stead. See, as a young student, I have also gone through a lot of knee-jerk reactions. You're very anxious in your first couple of years of your career, right? You might say that, okay, this company, I don't like it. I don't like my workplace. I don't like my colleagues. I don't like my bosses. I don't like the location I'm posted in. I'm maybe posted in a tier two, tier three location, or I'm posted in the metro and I'm not sort of cut out for big city life. So all those dilemmas, all those challenges will keep coming, but by all means, avoid any knee-jerk decisions. I know it's quite a lot of young colleagues are sort of don't want to leave the comfort zone and want to be close to families. So I think try and come out of your comfort zone. These initial years are going to be with a lot of challenges, but they're going to be amazing for you. Um, this one is important, right? So as an intern, I think a lot of corporates give you a lot of privileges or flexibility in terms of when you report to work. They might give you, some flexibility in terms of, finishing assignments at home. Sometimes you're assigned on field work. Sometimes, the companies might foot your expenses. But please make sure that you're always on the right side of things, because I have had a few of my in my work experience where I've seen a very good, very promising students with very bright future have had made some very stupid mistakes, when it comes to uh, uh, misuse of privileges in terms of what the companies or what the institute or what your workplaces might give you as an intern or a fresher. And I'm not saying that anybody would do that deliberately, but sometimes there are cases of misjudgment, or you probably don't analyze or judge the situation, and you probably end up making a wrong decision. But I think in a workplace, if you make mistakes in a presentation or a proposal or something that you're going to submit, I think that is still you can cover it up, right? But you can definitely not cover up, if there has been any instances of misuse. So I'm just saying that you might be posted into big multinationals, big corporations. Just make sure that you always are on the right side of things. um, as young students, we are also probably very, how would I say, we are starry-eyed about the world. So I think don't expect the corporate world to give you a fair treatment. I think there would be instances where you're not treated fairly, but go with the flow. I think there are learnings. I've had a fair share of learnings. I've had bosses which were extremely taskmasters. I've had to work unreasonable hours. I've had to work on weekends. And it's just not me. If you talk to anybody in the corporate, your initial years are like that, and then you might ask yourself, is this the right thing to do? But life's not fair, and there might be instances where you'll have to, just swallow it and keep moving. So that's typically the fresher years insights that I wanted to share. As you graduate further, as you move further into your career, you would find that there would be probably some more direction, some more experience that you're gaining in the corporate world, and you will then eventually start picking some area of expertise. So some of y'all might be maybe aspirations getting into the finance world. Somebody's marketing specialist, somebody's something else. So I think that's the time you would start picking your area of expertise. I would personally encourage you to make your communication skills sharper, because how else do you communicate to the world, right? Only if you have good communication skills. And I'm not saying, and we come from various backgrounds, right? All of us, and not for all of us is English a first language, and that's all right. But as long as you're able to confidently communicate your business ideas or your proposals or anything, that's going to be contributing to your organization's productivity. That's what I mean by communication skills. So I think by all means, try and sharpen your saw. I think the organizations will expect you to provide a meaningful output. As a fresher, probably there was little bit of leeway, but in the junior profile, I think there is definitely expectation that your output or your contribution to the organization is, getting important. At this stage, fellow students, do not get complacent at any stage. You've already, probably spent a few years in that organization. Um, you do get a bit comfortable knowing that the organization sort of reciprocates and values your skills and your experience, right? So let's not get into your head, and try and sort of be as grounded as possible and as open to learning as possible. um, I've had this again in my career where I've seen instances of one-upmanship where you have a choice, right? Once you probably work with your team and you take your team along, and the second is you show that you're better than the rest. So it's a very short-term strategy. I think in the long term, organizations don't like that. Organizations want people to be team players, right? I think it's good to have individual islands of excellence, but we can only collectively succeed when we are team players, right? Because then our collective strengths can outshine any one sort of spark of excellence or individual expertise or bright sparks. In your junior profiles, I think you would also have to be open to relocations. So if you've probably a native into a particular city, or if you've always been in Pune or Delhi or wherever else you come from, I think these relocations are going to make you uncomfortable. You're going to be going to places which you've never been to, places which don't speak your language. I think a long travels is going to be part of your role for most of you all. It could be either within the cities, a lot of field work, intercity travel, interstate travel, or pan India travel. The workloads also could be disproportionate, and given that we are in the digital world, I think sometimes we do work in an always on economy. Um, so that's the profile of a junior professional. I'll again take a few seconds of pause here, Nandini, in case you have any reflections, comments, or questions for me before I proceed.
No, so you may proceed. I guess we'll keep this question session maybe in the end, and by the time
Great.
all of our questions will be in place.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And as you then graduate to the mid-level profile, and I've sort of given a very ballpark range of experience there. Some of you all will make it to the corporate ladder fast. Some of us will take more time, and by no means, this is a reflection of who makes it to the fastest. It's we all have our different journeys, and we all are leaders in our own right. I think the fact that we are at the starting line itself makes us all leaders, right? So teamwork will continue to be extremely important. I think there would be a lot of emphasis in terms of analytical and decision skills. So in my sort of mid-level career profile, there will be more and more responsibility on you to then take decisions. You would not have your bosses to shield you, in case you take wrong decisions. So I think your decision skills have to be extremely sharp. You have to anticipate risks. Your thinking has to be more long term. So this is something that's always been a close matter of this matter has always been very close to my heart, is of cultural orientation. So I think in today's world you'll be exposed to a lot of people, right? Not just people from uh, a particular city or a state or a country, right? In this digital world, you would be probably interacting with somebody from, I don't know, Finland or Brazil or Spain or China or any other place, right? So cultural orientation is very important. I would encourage you to, be more sensitive to, what cultural orientation means in the business context. It might mean, learning a thing or two about how business is done in different parts of the world. So I remember during my early days, I had made a trip to Malaysia to conduct a business meeting, and we finished this business meeting, and the person on the other side, the CEO, was a lady. She was sort of leading that corporation. So we finished the meeting, and then I stood up, and then I put my hand ahead to just sort of just shake hands with her and just wanted to thank you. But she did not put her hand forward. And then after the meeting, I asked one of my Malaysian colleagues. I said, what happened? Did the meeting not go well over there? So he said that a lot of ladies in Malaysia, given the culture that they follow, uh, they don't shake hands, with male members in a professional context, and that might have changed now, but this was 10 years back. So although she was a very progressive, very well educated, very well learned, high ranking official, but she was also following her sort of deep rooted cultures, right? So I think some of these things are very important. I've had cases. I work for the New Zealand government currently, and I've had a lot of instances where I've had colleagues from overseas who have come into India for meetings, and then they have sat with in front of Indian CEOs with their shoes pointing out towards people, and in our Indian culture, that's considered inappropriate. So sometimes you might put a lot of effort into making a great presentation. Your analytical skills might be awesome. Your business projections might be really optimistic, and you might have a great business plan. But some of these finer, softer nuances of interpersonal relationships matter a lot. uh, I know a colleague of mine who turned up into a meeting with a CEO, again with a large Indian corporation, in a half shirt, and he was wearing a pair of denims. And I think that Indian corporation was a very conservative, very
I guess students, there are some network connectivities issues. So please hang in there for a while.
uh, Nandini, sorry, I got logged off. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, 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 sir.
Okay.
Now
Sorry.
you're audible.
Okay. Sorry. It was a connection issue at my end. Yeah. So I would encourage you to, focus on that, read up on that. It will really, really put you into, good state. I think diplomacy is also going to be key. I think you will have a lot of conflict in workplaces or beyond workplaces, and how you handle those conflict maturely is going to be part of your diplomacy learning. And I've learned that now working with governments, between government to government, there are a lot of flare-ups and there are a lot of egos and a lot of tensions, right? But a lot of good diplomacy can ease that, and that's how a lot of international trade or a bilateral trade between two companies or two countries get resolved. Um, I think something that you cannot avoid is workplace workplace politics, but I would encourage you to probably minimize your involvement into that. As far as you can stay clear, really, it will put you into good state. Um, I've seen a lot of senior professional careers going haywire because of simple, or I wouldn't call them simple, but I think with regards to misjudgment on ethics or integrity. And I'm going to be sharing a couple of cases of where senior professionals when they reach up to a stage and have had instances of misusing company assets. So as you grow in your career, you would be given company assets like maybe company vehicle. You would be given a lot of privileges, the way you travel, the way you stay, hotels, etc., etc. Right. So I think I would encourage you to keep that strictly professionals and always make sure that your personal and your professional spheres don't ever get mixed up. None of your professional privileges should benefit in your personal capacity. And if there's even a iota of conflict of interest, you should immediately report it or discuss it with somebody. Because I've seen a lot of good senior professionals who have made some errors, or misjudgments when it comes to how the company assets were used, and they had to sort of pay with their careers. So that I think the mid-level profile is also very competitive. It does bring in a fair share of high stress. You're in a high career path, very, I would say, lucrative in terms of remuneration, but also very result oriented. And finally, we get to the senior profile, where the buck stops with you and you're responsible for all your outcomes. So there's nobody else going to be shielding you from the bad decisions that you make. I think there would be a big picture thinking that would would be involved at this stage. A lot of this senior profile, comes with the leadership, wearing the leadership hat in the truest sense, where it's not about you anymore, or it's not about your growth anymore. It's about how you empower people around you, the youngsters, the upcoming managers, your teams. You would also probably be in a phase where you start respecting your work-life balance. Having sort of given so many years to work life. Again, there are a lot of people at positions of power, and you could use it to with responsibility, that power, or sometimes when power is misused, then it can really backfire. And you must have probably read in corporate news where the CEOs who have spent 2 or 3 decades have had to be unceremoniously asked to leave the organization. So I think we see a lot of that. Also with the senior leadership also comes it's a true test of leadership. You are typically also surrounded by a lot of yes boss people. You would always have people who would be aligning their thoughts with yours. Nobody will challenge you in a constructive way. So you have to cut through the fluff and find your way out. And what I've heard from a lot of CEO colleagues in the industry is it's quite lonely in the top at the top. So that gives a bit of a profile. So you might be wondering, why am I taking you through this, right? I think because as young students, probably all you're worried about is your next break, your next internship, or your next placement. But I think what I wanted to offer you today, fellow students, is just a very quick recap. It wasn't quick. I know I went a bit overboard, but I just wanted to, in a nutshell, make this as a little toolkit, a little sort of back pocket toolkit that you have at any point in time, to know that these are the things that you can continue to develop. Some of the traps, classic traps that a lot of people have gotten into, and I wish I wouldn't want you to get into it. So what you can avoid. And the third bit is the environment, something that we cannot change. It's the external sort of environment that we live in, and how resilient you can be to that. So that's a sort of a recap in a nutshell. So I'll take a pause now. Can we move on to the next one, Nandini, please? So I'll take a pause here again just to check in with Nandini to see if there are any comments or a question that you might have for me. I know you mentioned that we keep the floor open for students to ask, but if there's anything from your side.
Not as of now, but I have few questions which I guess I should ask in the end, because that will help a lot of those of questions will actually help these students also.
Sure.
So I think I should go in the end.
Perfect. Okay. Fellow students, this is almost the last slide. I won't, like I said, I won't keep you long. I won't keep you waiting between me and your weekend. Um, but these are some of the tips that I would give to you as my fellow students. One is whatever part of life, be it professional or personal. I think never ever compromise on integrity. I do, thank a lot again to the institute in terms of, teaching me the basics of, or teaching us the basics of ethics and integrity, because a lot of early learnings, and I'm sure even now we have a lot of learnings from the military or the armed forces, that Colonel Marwa so beautifully articulates and uh, brings into the business world. And as you all might know, the word strategy itself, comes from military, right? Because it what it means is essentially planning. And the strategy that we talk about in business today is actually has got sort of, history, back into sort of military times. So I think no great leader than, Colonel Mawa to share, some of his war stories and those leadership learnings. But I think that lesson on integrity was, taught to us quite early on. And, both my organizations, actually all three my organizations, DuPont, Dow Chemicals, and even the New Zealand government that I currently work for, we have zero tolerance, for anything where you compromise on ethics. So what I mean that anybody who's, fudging on expenses, anybody who's making misusing, company assets, anybody who's not acting in the right sort of character, or bringing bad reputation to the organization, there's zero tolerance. Sometimes you don't even get a chance to explain. So I think it's not worth it. Those shortcuts are never worth it. Whatever you do, like I said, you might not be the best in a field, but you can improve that. You can upskill yourself, you can learn or bring that competency. But integrity is something, there's no gray area. You either have it or you don't have it. So I would always encourage you to, have 100%, crystal clear integrity, whatever phase of life you are in, and you'll always be, you'll never be caught at the wrong end. The second is, it might sound very traditional, but you know, reading, writing, and I mean picking up a pen and writing down on a piece of paper, the good old-fashioned way, is really a great idea to, put your creativity thinking onto, get your ideas to come out. I think communicate, do not hesitate to communicate. Don't ever tell yourself that what I'm communicating is right or wrong. How will people perceive it? Sometimes your medium of communication might not be fluent English. You might be, proficient in a regional language. Don't hesitate. Nobody's going to judge you. I think at least the right people will not judge you. So, by all means communicate. Even if it means that you might know, or you might know things imperfectly, that's absolutely fine. The other thing that I'm noticing is, in our times, in the current times, I think it's part of continuous learning, continuous education. We got to upskill ourselves. I think even professionals, who are in sort of plus 40s, plus 50s, and even senior professionals who have retired are now consultants to a lot of organizations. Even for them, they are not saying that, okay, I know everything. What they're saying is, I have my experience, but I'm open to learning. So please continue to, upskill yourself whenever you get an opportunity. um, you guys are all part of the digital world, right? So be extremely digital savvy, and I know you are. I think, it's needless to say you're quite digitally equipped. But do know that there's a flip side to it. And what I'm sensing is, when your future organizations engage with you, they do not just engage with you as a person. They also engage with you in terms of your social media profiles. A lot of background checks happen. So I would say that on your social media, try and stay as professional or as neutral as you can be. Sometimes for a lot of people, their political views or their sort of views on certain things, have backfire, and certain organizations again have zero tolerance to that. So I think it's all a timeline, right? And you cannot keep it clean. I think in the pre-digital world, a lot of people could have a control about what goes into the CV. But today's times is just not about the CV. It's about what digital footprint you leave, and you cannot clean your digital footprint. So try and see if you can maintain a very clean, nice, neutral digital footprint. So that's one. It's going to be a high pressure world for sure, with a lot of exciting opportunities, and it's going to take you places nationally, internationally. You will work in private sector, government, a lot of places. But do develop a hobby, that means that you can become a wholesome person, a wholesome personality. So whatever you like, don't lose sight of that. It could be simple things that you can do on the weekend or after work. I would encourage you to be financially savvy. I know initial years, there are a lot of challenges that we face as students, but any part of little savings that you can, at least as a habit, you can do that. I'm sure by now you must have read about, and you can probably check in with your finance professor, the power of compounding. It's known as the eighth wonder of the world, right? So do read up on that, what it means to have the power of compounding. So even small savings that you start early on is really going to help you in the long run. And finally, I would encourage all of you to not lose of your health and wellness and sleep. I think we do live in a switched on world where digital is all around us, our phones, our laptops, etc., etc., and it's having a profound effect on our health and our thinking, our mental health, and a lot of things. So don't lose sight of some of these fundamentals to our well-being, which is around health, wellness. And I'm actually reading this book nowadays. It's called Why Do We Sleep by Matthew Whitaker, and he says that if today's time, if people could pick up one thing that could make them sharper, intelligent, extremely analytical, and free from ailments and free from a lot of the lifestyle diseases that a lot of us probably would be dealing with. He picks up sleep and the kind of profound impact it can have on people. So that's a new learning, because I think in the earlier years, corporate years, I think a lot of us did burn the midnight oil, and the sleeps were getting smaller and smaller and shorter and shorter. And I'm sure a lot of us don't do have that luxury always, but whenever you do have the time, please do make sure that you take care of your health and your wellness and some of the basics around sleep. So with that, fellow students, I would conclude my session today. Thank you so much for your patience and for sort of being there and for being attentive. I now sort of put the session open, and I'll request Nandini to then take this forward in terms of moderating the Q&A.
Sure, sir. So there were like so many questions coming in the chat, and I picked up a few. And first of all, I would like, so there are so many freshers, and they will be stepping in the industry very soon and will be facing a lot of things.
Sure.
For sure, they will have to learn a lot of things. But there is a thing wherein students generally fail is, tackling up the adverse situations, right? There will be adverse situations also in their professional life. So do you want to, throw some light on how to beat the odds when it comes to your professional life? So
yeah, that's actually a very important question, Nandini, and we all have gone through professional and personal setbacks. And all I want to tell you, fellow students, is any setback is, please do not treat it as end of life, both professional life or personal life. It's very important. The setback is just a mismatch of that particular situation, what you want and what the other person or the organization can or cannot provide, and that match cannot happen. Please try to look at it that way. Do not take anything personally, right? So just to give you an example in terms of interviews, right? Sometimes organizations do interview a lot of us, and I have not made it to a lot of interviews. I have not been successful in a lot of interviews. A lot of places, people have not treated me fairly. I was asked to leave. I was not given a second chance, and it's just not me. I think there's a success story in each one of you. You've covered a big ground by coming to your post graduation. I'm sure you've faced a lot of challenges in your schooling and your college life itself. So remember of those times. But what is going to keep you in good state is your confidence, keep trying, and your resilience. I think these are some of the essentials that you should always have in your back pocket. Please don't get disheartened. If one door closes, there will be 10 other doors that open for you. Just have patience.
Sure. Uh, so other important thing which I was right now seeing in the chats were like, they really want to know about decision making. So I could see people were really, confused about what vertical to choose and, go for marketing or go for finance. And I have so many questions related to that front. So I would like to know, or rather, students would like to know that how to make the decisions very efficiently so that they can prove better for us in the future. So some tips on decision making.
Sure, sure. So there are two ways of looking at it, Nandini. One is that you have to be a very good critique of yourself, and you have to delve very deeply into your own, I would say, strengths, right? So when you say that you are aspiring for a career in finance, and by now you know that do you have the ability to pursue that in the long term or not? And most often than not, we get that answer, right? So some of us would get that answer. Some of us are very clear. Okay, we want to get into marketing. Some of us want to get into HR and a lot of other functions that are there, right? But I'm also saying that it's absolutely okay to be clueless and not being able to take a decision, because at this stage, what you need to look for is a toehold into the private sector. That's more important. That one opportunity that you get to prove yourself is going to be more important than what field you choose today, right? And I can give you umpteen examples. So I think in my own experience, I'm a microbiology graduate. I've done my graduation microbiology from Pune University. So I should have been today sitting in a vaccine company making maybe COVID vaccines, right? But that would have been a very straight line career, right? You do microbiology and then you go into a lab and you make whatever life science products or whatever. But life tosses you around everywhere, right? You get thrown around and you make the best of the opportunities. So for me, my career path has been microbiology. I've done e-business, obviously with Indian Institute of E-Business Management. I started with Dow Chemicals, which was a chemical company, nothing to do with e-business, although my internship was connected to e-business. I worked in a company called DuPont, which was selling, packaging material to the Nestle and Cokes and, the large multinationals of the world. Again, very little to do with e-business. But what I'm trying to tell you is that once you're in the corporate world, the opportunities are going to definitely open up for you. But if you are going to keep your specialization very narrow, and if you're going to say that, okay, if it's finance, that's it, I'm not going to look at anything else, then so that's why I said, as a fresher, you need to be extremely flexible. And you yourself know about so many examples where people with very different qualifications are, doing very different things. And even in the corporate world today, you would see a lot of non-engineers are CEOs of organizations. A lot of engineers are working in the field of HR. Me, I have no working prior experience of working with the government. Today, I work with the New Zealand government. My role is also to receive, overseas, delegations. I interact with prime ministers of various countries. I interact with ministers. So I think, how do you do that? You do that by being very flexible and open to whatever situation that life's put you in. I would like to also add a very quick anecdote. Don't listen to a lot of people. See, go with your gut, because even simple things like COVID, a lot of worldwide experts couldn't predict this event, right? It's called a black swan event. It's something that nobody foresee. For all our big data and analytics and all of that, it took us by surprise, right? So what the future is going to hold for you, nobody is going to have a mirror on that or a sort of a periscope on that. What you need to do is to, at this stage, keep your focus on getting a toehold into an organization. Once you're there, take small baby steps, do the right things, keep learning, be flexible, and you'll definitely find your way through the corporate ladder.
Correct. And I guess our next answer to the question is also around the same line that, what will be the scenario for our life projects and internship in this time? Since, when you were studying and when I was studying, the life projects and internships were used to be really different
Right.
since the scenario was totally different. So students would really like to know what will be the scenario as of now when it comes to life projects and internships.
Sure. So that's again a very good question. And students don't get disheartened because even large corporates are grappling with this, how to deal with it. I'll give you an example. So my wife, she's a senior professional with Tata Consultancy Services, and she's part of the legal function there. And Tata Consultancy Services have always have had people working in the offices. I think as a work from home policy was restricted to only very few, right? But this pandemic has actually helped a large, corporation like them, and I believe they have 4 lakh employees globally, which is a big number, right? Which has forced corporations to now look at how can I empower my workforce to work from home. So students, it's just not your problem alone. A lot of corporations are also going through the same dilemma. So I do understand that you are at the cusp of it. We are used to live projects and live internships, and we are used to getting into offices and being in the field and doing our work. It's going to take you a bit longer than normal, but hang in there, have some patience. A lot of corporates are putting in a lot of tools, a lot of capability to interact with you, each one of you. A lot of the digital world is going to enable those interactions with you. There would be instances where you will be able to use your smartness, use your ingenuity, use your skills, your digital skills to be able to contribute to these projects. So hang in there. I think a lot of good changes are there in the pipeline. That's what I'm hearing from the industry. A lot of them are keen to not lose out on all the great opportunities and all the skill sets and all the energies that our fellow students have. They want it. A lot of corporations want the young blood. They cannot survive without each one of you. They want each one of you to be, working with them and contributing to them. Honestly, a lot of them are also clueless about how to deal with the digital world, and they're going to be looking at each one of you for answers. Remember that. So believe you me, you are in a much better place to help out corporations to, deal with the future than the other way around. So just be confident, be resilient, have some patience, and things will turn around quite nicely for you all.
As I keep on saying that we are a part of history and this is the history being built up. So it is always about being positive about it.
Yeah.
We have a very interesting question over here. One word on your journey in IIEBM.
One word. Exhilarating.
Amazing, exhilarating. Okay. Would you like to maybe, explain a bit?
Yeah. It was quite an emotional journey, and I'm sure a lot of ex or alumni have probably same story to say, but it feels great to see where the institute has grown today after 2 decades, and I feel privileged. Students, one request to each one of you: when you're out in the corporate world, there would be, and you would be interacting with a lot of students. Some of them from other B schools, some of them from foreign universities, some of them from everywhere. Don't ever feel out of place. Be confident. Be extremely proud of your alma mater. Your institute, because you have the power of the network. You have the power of the alumni. Just not you. Each one of us is extremely proud to be associated with the industry, and we are now coming back, right? So look at it this way, right? So we as a pioneering batch, we didn't have any mentors that time in students, but you guys have all of us, right? So do lean on your networks, and we are always there to help each one of y'all out and show you direction and contribute to your success in whatever way we can. So I think, to answer your question, yes, the journey has been extremely exciting and extremely rewarding. I think today I'm very satisfied. I'm glad that I took that leap of faith of joining the institute when no one knew about it, and today I think it's made a great name for itself, not just nationally, but even at a global level.
Correct. And for me, it is transforming. I mean, it a total transformation from what I was and what I am right now. So I am pretty much happy from what for for the transformation what I get. So yes, I would definitely put up in that way. Also, sir, I would like to ask now how you are personally, dealing with the lockdown. What is your lockdown story? How you are dealing professionally, the changes and everything. So your
Sure.
personal lockdown story and your professional lockdown story.
Sure. So of course these are uncertain times. I'll keep it extremely real. There are moments of anxiety, um, because sometimes there is also a lot of negativity, in the news with regards to pandemic. Uh, Sometimes we need to talk about good stories, stories about positivity, stories about leadership, stories about how each one of us have been helping, people within the community and within our buildings and societies and, the neighborhoods that we've been staying in, right? So I think it is definitely challenging, but I think what has helped me definitely is, taking care of your health. I think it's a good time to invest in yourself. Uh,
Correct.
Health and well-being is extremely important. Secondly, I think this is also at a time which is giving you an opportunity to do a lot of self-learning. You can really equip yourself and upskill yourself in multiple ways, through digital avenues. That's number two. And number three, I think, like I said, with the adversity comes the opportunity, right? So once this is all over, I think you are really at the cusp of, making history. You will be out in a world which will be a new world. You'll have a first mover advantage, given the digital skills that you already have been imparted, from the institute, and you'll really benefit out of it. But with the pandemic, I would encourage you to stay optimistic. Ultimately, it's all about your mind, that will shape your decisions and your behaviors and your personality. So stay sharp, stay optimistic, stay focused, and do take care of your health and wellness as well. Yeah.
Correct. So I guess, we are done with the questions also here. And I would like to close on a note that life is full of opportunities. Leadership is all about taking these opportunities, and legacy is what you will leave behind when you do. We're really proud of you, sir. And guys, so buckle up and we have to start doing now. So it was really an amazing session, sir. It was really good to connect back on the digital platform, and I guess we are done with the session now.
Sure.
And that's it, guys. Stay safe, uh, follow the safety protocols, and stay at home. Thank you, sir.
I would
Thanks
just
a lot.
like to thank everyone, personally you, Nandini, and Dr. Poonam, Dr. Nidhi, Dr. Rishikesh, Colonel Marwa, Dr. Jay, and the entire institute, board and fellow students for the time. I think it's a great opportunity for me to reconnect. And I wish each one of you all the very best in your professional lives. And there's a great success, waiting for you. So wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, sir. That was so nice.
Thank you. Thanks again. Thanks. Bye. Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Thanks. Thanks all. We have
Thank
been
you.
in